Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brew Talk, and this is a very special episode of Brew Talk because it's coming ahead of one of the biggest series of the entire year. In fact, it is the biggest series of the entire year for the Brewers. Now, the Brewers are 81 and 71 with 10 games left to play. We play the Cubs in a 4-game series starting tonight at 6:10. Um, then after that, we're going to play the Cincinnati Reds at home in a 3-game series, and we'll go to St. Louis in a 3-game series to finish out the year. Now, last night was a bit of a crushing loss. We lost on an Adam Frazier walk-off home run, 6-4 to the Pirates after taking the lead in the 7th, and that was a really big game because both the Cubs and the Cubs and the Rockies lost, which means that we could have gained ground on both of them in the wild card and the division race. We would have tied the Rockies for the wild card, and we would have been only 2.5 behind Chicago heading into this game instead of 3.5. The Cubs won 7 straight before losing to the Rays last night. In fact, their last loss before they lost to the Rays was the last game of the series at Wrigley Field between the Brewers and the Cubs, where the Brewers swept that series, actually. But this series coming up, it's a huge, huge series, and this is the closest the Brewers are going to get to playoff baseball all year, unless they actually make the playoffs. And let me just go game by game through here. Here's the pitching matchups. Now, game 1, we've got Jake Arrieta, who's 14-9 with a 3.48 ERA, versus Zach Davies, who has a 17-9 record and a 3.89 ERA. Now, the thing about this game is the bullpen was really overused last night. They went all in, and they used all their best pitchers, and they still ended up losing. So we have to hope that Zach Davies puts together 7 or 8 good innings, or else we're going to have to be using guys like Carlos Torres and Oliver Drake to finish off the game or hold the lead or keep us in the game. And that's not really making me feel too good there. So, but the initial pitching matchup between the starters, that's a pretty good matchup. They're pretty evenly matched, Davies and Arrieta. But I mean, I just don't have a great feeling about winning this game. And I really think this is an important game for the Brewers to win, because starting off with a loss against a team that you really, really need to win at least 3 out of 4 against is not really the best thing for this Brewers team, and it would be pretty disheartening if we did lose it. I could definitely see the Brewers winning 3 or even 4 games in the series, though. I really could, even though the Cubs fans are in full force at Miller Park, which sucks that they have to take over our stadium, but I really do think the Brewers can win this series, and I do think they could even sweep the series. They absolutely have the ability to do that, but it's going to be a big challenge. Now, Game 2 looks like, to me, the most winnable game of the series. We have John Lackey, who has an 11-11 record with a 4.62 ERA, versus Brandon Woodruff, who has a 2-2 record and a 3.28 ERA. That game, John Lackey really has not been that good this year at all. He's got his 4.62 ERA, which is definitely not on the good side of things. I can definitely see the Brewers offense putting up a good 7-8 runs in that game. And as long as Woodruff doesn't give up the same, then the Brewers should be able to win that one. Game 3, this one is looking more and more like a loss for the Brewers. As much as I don't want the Brewers to lose any of the games this series, I just can't help but think that the Brewers are going to lose Game 3, because they have Kyle Hendricks, who has a 7-5 and 3.22 ERA, versus Brent Suter with a 3-2 and 3.41 ERA. Now, Brent Suter is not a bad pitcher by any means, but when we have to use Brent Suter, it usually means we have to use the bullpen, and it has to be a bullpen game. And those games, while we have been successful before in them, they just don't make me comfortable playing them. And this is really where we're going to feel the full effect of losing Jimmy Nelson, because Jimmy Nelson would have started this game. And it's unfortunate that he can't be pitching in this game, because if he was, then I'd say, oh yeah, we definitely have a good chance of winning that one. But without Jimmy Nelson, we just don't have as good of a chance, because Brent Suter, I mean, while he's serviceable, he's nothing compared to Jimmy Nelson this year. So if we do lose a game in the series, it's going to be Game 3, at least Game 3, most likely. But Game 4 is really looking pretty good for the Brewers. They got Jose Quintana, who has a 10-11 record and a 4.27 ERA, versus Chase Anderson, who has a 11-3 and 2.74 ERA. In that game, Chase Anderson has just been lights out this year, and he's been lights out ever since he came back from his injury. And I think he'll be able to shut down the Cubs. If you remember last year, he took a no-hitter into the 8th inning against the Cubs at Miller Park, so I could definitely see him having a really strong outing in that one too. But I mean, this is it, guys. It's coming down to the last 10 games, and I've said it, I've kept saying it all season, but now it's really true. I mean, the Brewers are still in this, and there's only 10 games left. We're only one game out of the wild card. If you would have told me that the Brewers would be one game out of the wild card with 10 games left to play, I would have been thrilled. It's just amazing how the Brewers have managed to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs this year with the expectations they had and the seemingly endless list of no-name players and washed-up veterans that they had. Our first baseman, Eric Thames, was a MLB reject who played godlike in Korea for a few years before getting signed here, and he hit over 30 home runs, including 11 in April. Our third baseman, Travis Shaw, he was a .242 hitter and got dumped by the Red Sox, and now he's our top run producer and one of the best third basemen in the game. Our shortstop, Orlando Arcia, was a .219 hitter who occasionally made a flashy play with his glove, but that was about all he was known for. Now he's a .270 hitter with serious glove potential. Our most used second baseman, Eric Sogard, it's been a bit of a platoon this year. We've used Perez, VR, and Sogard because VR started out the season pretty slow. He's gotten it back up to steam a little bit, but he hasn't gotten a chance to start in a few weeks. But Sogard was a .240 career hitter before catching fire and hitting over 300 by the All-Star break. He was a huge part in the Brewers' early season success and that initial jump to first place in the division. But the list goes on. I mean, the Brewers have just all these players who you wouldn't think would have good seasons, but have. Domingo Santana is another one on that list. He was a .240 hitter, and now he's hitting .270, .280, and he has 27 home runs and 75 RBIs. I mean, it's just amazing how they've been able to get all these like no-name players to have such great seasons. How the Brewers have won 81 games so far, let alone be in a division race with the defending world champions, is absolutely incredible to me and shows that David Stearns really has an amazing eye for talent. At this rate, the Brewers could compete for a World Series in, I think, a few years' time. And if they make the playoffs this year, I mean, who knows what could happen? They could very well make the World Series this year. You never know. I do know that this team is a team that plays together and plays to win and plays to have fun. And if we made the playoffs, who knows what could happen? The Brewers are a team of rejects, underrated, and overlooked players that still haven't managed to catch much attention beyond the occasional ESPN article contemplating how their rise is even possible. And even if we do come short, this season is definitely not a waste at all. It was very positive, even if we lose the last 10 games of the season. It can only lead to more future success. It's been a great ride so far, and I just really can't wait to see how it finishes because I've just had so much fun covering this team and following them. I love it so much, and this is the best kind of baseball to watch. Just players just going out there trying to have fun and trying to have a good time. I love it. That's all I really have to say in this video, guys. As I said, big series coming up. Don't forget to tune in tonight because it's going to be huge. We have two of these games being televised on national TV on Fox, so that's pretty big. I just can't wait to see how this season all wraps up. So I will have a recap of the game, hopefully up tonight, and then I'll have a recap of the next 3 games as well. And I'll be making more of these videos as the Brewers get closer and closer to the finish line here. But anyways, that's all I really have to say in this video. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments below if you have any. And as always, thanks for watching.